Many people say that they want to write a book, yet 9 out of every 10 people who start writing a book never finish it, leaving one of their biggest dreams unfulfilled. So, what is it about the 1 in 10 people who do finish writing their book? What do they have, and what drives them to complete their books, their plays, and their songs? Welcome to the Editor's Desk, where we explore their writing experiences, their motivations, and their struggles. And now, here are your hosts, author, writing coach, and self-publishing guide, Lynn Everard, and author, Louise Gomez.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Editor's Desk. Today is Thursday, June 8th, and I'm super excited about our guest today. And it seems to be a theme. These past few weeks, we seem to have a theme with children's books and really beautiful messages. And I'm excited to introduce everybody. Today we have The Swamp Next Door. And this book is written and illustrated by Kelly Zabinski. I want to thank you so much for joining us today, Kelly.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
You know, I'm excited for you to be here. And as I was saying, it's a great thing to have, children's books. It's summertime. What better initiative than to have kids reading?
Yeah, get ready for the next school year for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, but to read with a message, not just read any story. And what I loved about your book is there's a beautiful message in there. And it's about judgment and what we do, as part of the human condition, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about the story and what made you come up with that and the beautiful message, if you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So this book came to me randomly. Like, it all started when I was helping my friend with her book and her characters, and her book was more of like more bright colors, more female characters. So I was like, okay, let me give myself a challenge and come up with a different book that's just opposite of hers. So I did something with more like male leads and male characters and like a different setting and everything. And when I was coming up with the characters, they came to me, and Crocodile is one of the characters.
Yes,
and
I
Pat,
loved it.
Yeah, so, and I don't know how they came to me, and they just, the scenes and everything just all at once, like one thing just popped up after another, and it was that point where I'm like, oh, Dylan and Pat, I know that I should dedicate this book to Dylan, Drew, and Patrick Cervella, since their names are in the book, and I just felt like it was a sign just to continue through with it,
That's called being in the flow.
Yes.
People want that so badly, and it just seemed to have came to you, right? You just said, well, I was helping a friend, and you decided you wanted to be different, and then it's like you set that intention, and it seemed to have flowed through you.
That's the best way of explaining it, is that it flew through me, because I just, I never knew that this is what I wanted to do. I never knew that. I mean, I've always loved drawing. I always loved illustrating, but I didn't know how to make it a reality of it until my friend needed help with her illustrations and her children's book. Nice. So that inspired me to do my own, and then it just built up from there.
So I love the illustrations. It's like you said, it's like more of the masculine, like the darker colors. I love how you incorporated all types of people, all types of creatures, all types of, different animals. And so can you tell us a little bit more about, like, what is his experience as he's going through the forest? What is he experiencing, the character?
So Pat Parker is hearing these rumors from his classmates that there are these crazy, scary creatures in the swamp, and like to not go in there. But he lives right next door to it, so of course he's gonna be curious. So one day he skips the school bus just to go in and, venture it out and see what happens, see if these rumors are actually real. And then he finally finds himself with these creatures that the students were mentioning that were so scary, but they ended up helping him get out of the swamp and making him be able to get on home on time.
So, it's so amazing, because it's like in life, how many times we hear stories about, oh, don't go to that whatever restaurant, or don't go to that school, or don't go here, because people give their perception of their experience, right?
Yes.
So I love how the character was like, no, I'm willing. I want to experience it for myself. So it's like a certain level of open-mindedness that this
Right.
character had, and he experienced a different experience.
Yeah, and then he was able to figure it out himself, and then let his classmates know, and then at the very end, like, they all become friends. You know, they realize that those rumors weren't true, and they realize that they can all be friends and get along.
So I really love how you took the message of like judgment, and we were having this conversation before this, like, how many times in life do we judge experiences, people, events, places, and things, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it's something that I feel as if it just happens right off the bat. Like, we don't really stop and think. It automatically happens to us.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the message at the end of my book. It says, you know,
Yes.
rumors are bummers, but when we learn to not judge and love instead, we learn from our hearts and not from our heads, because we do learn from what comes inside. You know, we sometimes think of these things, but instead of actually stopping thinking of it, then, you know, we're able to actually like feel it from our hearts rather than just judging it from like right from our first thoughts.
I feel like it's such a valuable lesson. Like, my vision would be to have these types of conscious books, levels of awareness, to have fun with the kids, let them know this is a fun, cool story, but that underlying message of be aware. Like, it took me years to be aware of, you know, my, you know, choices and my decisions and my judgments, and I realized, oh, that maybe isn't coming from me. It's just a thought or a judgment, right? It's like, and I learned that later in life. So I find it so fascinating that young adults like you, like, I believe consciousness is evolving so fast that, you know, you're aware of it, you're writing books about it, you're passing that message along. It's so important for young kids just to be aware of that.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. I agree. You know, and I mean, I'm still learning, you know, and it's
Oh,
definitely, it's something
absolutely.
everybody's learning.
It's a daily, right? We're the school of life. It's just a daily school, I call it. And all these things that we talk about, they're just programs, right? Like, we've been programmed just to whatever, have these
Right.
beliefs.
And we're so influenced with social media and everything that we're, you know, obviously helps us judge even more just because of based on social media. You see something and you judge right off the bat of it. So maybe with this book, kids can learn at a young age that you shouldn't judge, and you should try to like stop and think and feel from what your heart, and then go from there.
Yeah, and it's so true. I love to make people aware. Like, social media has such an impact on all of us. And, you know, when we were kids, when I was a kid, I didn't have social media, but it's so different when you have young kids that are born today. They're going to be, they're already on social media at these young ages.
Oh, yeah.
You know, 8, 9 years old. So that is a huge, like you were saying, like, kids are influenced, right, by these, you know, people and events. And I think it's so important for, like you said, the message, feel it in your heart before we, you know.
Project it.
Yes, yes. So, tell me a little bit more about the illustration, because I absolutely love that you're so talented, and
Thank you.
I love that you have all these, I don't know, just beautiful colors and creatures and animals. How did you, like, have you always illustrated and drawn? Oh, you have.
Yeah, I've always loved drawing. It's something that's followed me through like ever since I was a child. So it's something I've always wanted to carry it out as an adult and maybe find a career out of it, but I just didn't know how. And it took maybe a couple years ago when when I was saying my friend needed help with her children's book. She actually had somebody do illustrations for her book, but it wasn't to her like her exact image.
Okay.
So I helped her come up with the scenes and pictures. And like I said, that's what I was like, okay, let me try to do it on my own. And like some of these like characters, you know, I just like, okay, let me add this detail. Like, I don't even know why I chose a crocodile for one of the main characters. I'm like, that's not like my professional like I love drawing animals, but that's not the first thing that comes to
Right.
my head, you know? So that's where I think it was like a sign that I should dedicate the book to Dylan and Pat, because these images I would have never imagined on my own. So I feel like like what you said, it was like it was a flow of it.
Yes,
And
definitely.
and it came to me. I couldn't even tell you how they did, but it just all at once, you
But
know.
it all lines up because there's a swamp, and what do you find in a swamp in Florida? Crocodile, right? And what are we fearful of? Like these types of creatures, snakes and crocodiles, and just all these different creatures. And it's so beautiful to know that he had a different experience.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that kids get to. It's like in a way, it's kind of like being open-minded,
Right.
right?
I agree.
And it's kind of like educating and letting these kids know, just because that was their experience, we can be open-minded, and we can have different experiences.
Right, of our own, and we could be able to have it, experience it for ourselves before we hear from other people. And once we experience it ourselves, we could come up with our own story to help, justify like the rumors that they're telling you. So once we have our
Yes.
own experiences and our own observations, it kind of clears out the rumors and anything that people say that aren't true, and just because of your own experiences.
It's so funny, Kelly, because we're here talking about it for teaching kids. The reality is, as adults, this is applicable to
Yeah.
adults.
Yeah, I was gonna say, adults, we can be able to read this book too. Maybe they can learn something as well.
Yeah, because how many times in life we have experiences and we think, oh no, this happened to me, so it's going to happen to you. And we maybe project it to our children
Yeah.
or other people.
Kids are easily influenced too. So sometimes they kind of follow our behaviors, and they kind of see, like, if your parent judges, then the child feels as if they're like, oh, okay, like I could do the same thing too. So anybody can learn from this. It's an everyday experience for anybody.
It is. And it's so, the program is so deep as far as the judgment, that I remember there was a study done with mice. I think they were mice, and they were in this cage, and they were doing the study, and every time the mouse went to get the blueberry, he got jolted with a jolt of electricity. So they stopped eating the blueberries, right? But what was really interesting was next generation. It was so embedded in their genes that next generation, the children of the mice the baby mice of the offspring went to the blueberries, and they wouldn't eat it. They were programmed already not to eat the blueberries, because the generations above them,
They evolved to learn not to do it.
They evolved not to do it because of that jolt of electricity. So what the study is saying, it's that those epigenetic patterns are ingrained in our brain.
They are. They really are. We don't even notice it,
We don't. And so as we evolve as humans, becoming more, I was telling you, I'm so impressed with, the younger generation being so conscious and aware. It's impressive, because a lot of awareness in my generation didn't take place until years later.
Right. And it's something that, each generation we do grow and evolve. So, maybe with this, like, people will evolve to just right off the bat, they know better to not judge, so they'll be able to evolve, because, we all grow and learn each generation. So hopefully, that continues to do that, just like the mice.
Right. So it's like we all get to do our little part in this world, right? To be, I believe, as we do our own part to become a better person and a better human for ourselves, we're really impacting the world in some small way.
Exactly. It's not only helping ourselves, but it's also helping everyone else around us as well.
Right. Like they say, right? Be the change you want to see in the world, right? I think Gandhi said that, right? Like, be the change.
And that's a beautiful way of looking at it. I never really looked at it in that aspect, but when you say it like that, then I'm like, wow, that is true. I never realized that my book would have that kind of impact and, bring this up. I'm like, I guess that's a really good point. I never really thought of that. So thank you for opening my mind on that.
Of course, absolutely. And I think the whole message would be, I believe, I mean, let me ask you, so what is your vision for the future, for the book, for the message, and for what you'd like to do?
I think for the future, I would love for children to learn to, be able to have their own experiences. Don't listen to what everybody else says. Learn from your own mistakes, learn from your own past, and influence other people to do the same,
Yes.
and learn to always be a helping hand. Learn to always love one another and be able to help any way you can, because that kind of love and kindness spreads,
It does. So do you think like getting into like Scholastic or into the books, into the elementary schools?
That would be amazing. I would love for that to happen. I think that would be an amazing opportunity. I would love for that to happen. But, the intention of the book was, just to put my work out there and also to dedicate it to Dylan and Patrick.
Yes.
So that was the initial goal. But if it evolves, then I won't complain.
Of course. Now, do you have any, I think you said you're studying graphic design, is that right?
Yes. So the book and illustrations that I did with this was all hand done. I had to do it like all old school fashion. I
Nice.
take a picture, scan the picture, import the picture on my computer, draw it on my computer. So I did all this extra work. So I'm in school right now in hopes to learn to do an easier way without going through all the hard extra steps.
Sure.
So hopefully with school I could be able to learn Illustrator and Adobe and be more creative in that way, because right now I did that through Krita, and unfortunately in school nobody is familiar with Krita, so I'm doing
Right.
all this extra work on Krita. I was like, what is that?
Uh-huh.
So I really hope that maybe with the graphic design I could be able to make more children's books and have it to be more detailed and more
Nice.
more creative.
Yeah, as you learn and you grow and you evolve, your books, so will your books, right? The the message and everything. Do you have any ideas of maybe a future book that you would write? Would you continue on this, or?
Yeah, I definitely would. I feel like in the book I kind of left like a cliffhanger with one of the characters, so maybe I can make something out of that. I always have ideas. There's always ideas brewing, but this book with the rhyming and the scenes came to me way more. So for me to come up with other books to dedicate to other loved ones
Oh, nice.
is taking some time, because like I said, I want to be able to evolve more with
Sure.
school and really make it to be something. This was just my first time trying it out and putting myself out there. So I'm hoping with experiences through school and graphic design, I can be able to evolve and make more children's books.
So I have a question for you now that you've got your first book under your belt. What advice would you give to somebody right now who's like, I have a friend listening and she's thinking of writing a children's book, and what advice would you give to that person?
Hey, just put yourself out there. Just if you have ideas, write it down immediately. It'll come to you, and use those ideas for later, and soon enough those will stack on top of each other. And just start. Just begin with anything. It could be through just a picture just to get the idea. It could be through a simple rhyme that you had in mind, and that can escalate into its own idea. So just begin with anything. Begin with anything, with any creative thought that you
Right.
have in mind.
I love that. Just start, right? How many times do we even judge our own selves, right? Like,
Oh, so hard.
I don't know if I could do that. I've never done that. And like, right?
I really did. Yeah. I had those doubts about myself, and I really wasn't sure if this was something that was going to be good enough. I had doubts in myself about this, but it took helping my friend with her book, and she was the one that gave me the confidence to be able to do
Nice.
this. She loved my illustrations. I'm like, really? Like, what? You want my illustrations? I was like, okay. And that kind of gave me the confidence boost to be able to continue in doing so. I'm like, I can do this. Like, this is amazing. And it was just because I guess that purpose, like I didn't know what to do with the illustrations, and she gave me that purpose. And I realized that I can make something out of this. So even if you have self-doubts, like there's always an opportunity for anything like this. I mean, especially today, like anything can become an opportunity if you just begin with a simple thought or idea.
Yeah, I love that. I can tell you how many times I've wanted to start something, and then it's like, I don't know. Am I good enough? Can I do that? I don't know if I can. It's like the stories,
Oh
the
yeah.
stories that I make up. I mean, I can imagine it's part of the human condition. A lot of us, some have more stories than others, right?
Right. I mean, just like the book, there's just you have these own thoughts in your head. You have like these ideas and self-doubt, but it
Right.
takes actually doing it and putting yourself out there and having your own experiences to be able to achieve those, and overcome those self-doubts.
Yeah, I think it's like the universe wants us to take an action step. I think the only way something can happen is if we take an action step.
Action step, that's a good way of saying it, because I do believe that the universe has its own way of bringing you to your goal and making your dream a reality.
Yes.
But its only way to make that happen is if you make that first step. It doesn't matter how big the step is. It could be the tiniest little step, and it'll be like a little snowball rolling down and make an avalanche, So it just starts with one tiny step, even if it's just like dipping your toes in the water.
It's so true.
And from there, it could go on.
It's so true. I mean, there's so many people that have decided, oh, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to do that. And then 6 months, a year later, they're like, oh my God, somebody invented that. It's like the ideas are out there, We get to just like grab them, bring them down, and do it.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, even this opportunity, I was so nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, I never imagined myself doing this, being interviewed. I was like, this is amazing. But I'm so happy that I was able to do this and take that leap, and just continue on this avalanche of with this book and continuing
Sure.
for it to grow. So this is just, I'm happy that I made this to be a reality. It's a sign from the universe that's helping me out still. So it's great.
Absolutely. And it's like we get to take one opportunity and just keep evolving, because next step you may, who knows, I mean, you're learning, you maybe want to teach, or you want to share your knowledge, because you seem like a very supportive type of person, that you like to
Thank you.
share your
Yeah.
knowledge.
Oh, I absolutely. If there's any way I can teach it, my mom, she's a teacher, she's substitute,
Oh,
so
okay.
maybe it runs in the
Nice.
family that I could be able to do the same.
Absolutely.
And just the fact that this book spread so many open doors for me to be able
Nice.
to continue on with this, just because of something that I just had this one idea. It has shown me that I want to make this as a career. It's led me to the path of what classes to take for school, and
Nice.
it's led me to so many opportunities that I would never thought I'd imagined seeing, and just from that one simple step, from one illustration.
That's amazing. I also love the fact that you really gave these characters life. Like the
Thank you.
trees, everything has its like a life of its own, and it really makes you feel like they're active. Everybody in that swamp was like an active participant in the story, right?
Oh yeah.
They have their own personality, their own characteristics, and
Yeah, and each page was, it was something I never thought about drawing or creating. And it was just after each each writing that I would, write out, I was like, okay, this can use an illustration, like this can use a picture. So it went on as like what she said, it was a flow. So it just flew fluently, and it was just because of one image, and it just continued on from there.
How long did the process take you from start to finish?
It took a year.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely took a year. So,
Nice.
I started with just the pictures and coming up with the characters, the settings, the scenes, and then trying to create like as many images as possible. And what it was that I went through Amazon to help get
Sure.
it published.
Uh-huh.
And there's a certain requirement, and you need 24 pages. So I think I was like, oh, I don't have that many pages, but it was a challenge, and it made me work harder to create those images. And I'm happy with how it came out. Even though I wasn't set up and I wasn't ready for it, it challenged me to do so, to be able to create those images.
Actually, that's good that it had that, because it like you said, it challenged you to create, a book of substantial, pages to create a story So that, that's actually good that it gave you those types of benchmarks to reach.
Right. At first I was like, oh no, how am I going to do this? I don't know how I'm going to make these many pages.
Right.
But, I was like, okay, like one day at a time, like it'll come to you. And it eventually did.
That's awesome. That's great. So, I think that if anybody wants to, you have kids, you want to have a great story to have them read. I think all kids get to read during the summer. Yeah. I know my kids, when summertime came, they had a reading list. Yeah. And I made sure they read books in the summertime.
Oh, I remember too, but it used to be like those long chapter books. So maybe this be a little easier. It's only 24 pages, whereas like when I was in school in summer, we had like these books we had chapters we had to read. So this would just be a little fun activity for them. Maybe practice to start reading those chapter books.
Yeah, and it's really, I think it's so important to create those habits because we're in this time frame of like with social media, everything's like a quick hit, a quick like TikTok is what, 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. We have these quick, our brains get into this quick dopamine hit. But, having a story and having a kid read a book and, the tactile touch of actually reading it, opening a book,
and taking the time.
Yes.
Oh, I agree absolutely. So crazy. I was just thinking about this the other day too. How I'm like, I should read more. That's another activity that I should be more invested in is reading more, and it does help because I feel as if my problem is that I speak faster than I think. So I think by reading, it kind of slows it down a little bit, where I can be able to work better with my own words and enunciate better because I'm practicing with reading. So in a way, it mentally helps you.
Yeah, reading, it helps. It really helps in so many different ways as far as, like you said, slowing down, being present, and I think creating a habit for children at a young age for reading. I know I did that. It was important for me to do that. And, till this day, my kids read, which is to me important. And so thank you so much for being in this journey of writing this book and helping kids to have a good story with the good ending as far as that message.
Oh, of course. And like I said, thank you so much for having me and being able to expand my opportunity on this and just having me here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we look forward to finding you in the future. Where can they find you on social media? Where can they find the book?
So the book is on Amazon and it's titled The Swamp Next Door.
Okay.
And you could find me on social media, on Facebook, Kelly Zabinski. And I'm going to work on getting a link on there so that way you can just be able to purchase it that way. But yeah, if you're an Amazon user and have an Amazon account, if you just type in the title, it'll pop right up.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you. And next week, we have Sloan Tate that's going to be joining us, and she's going to share her book and her story about connecting with members that are in the spiritual realm. And she'll talk about her experience and her story. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Imagine rediscovering a past life.
Now imagine finding the person you shared it with.
And I just told all my friends, I'm like, you guys have to read this because I can't put it down. And I have not even gotten to the half of the book yet.
We are Lynn Everard and Louise Gomez, and we are the authors of the book, The Reuniting of Two Past Lives and the Unveiling of the 12 Sacred Lessons.
We invite you to purchase the book and discover the magic. Even if you have never written a book, you are still an author. In fact, we all are. In every moment, each of us is writing our own unique story that we call our lives. Because many of us are, as in the lyrics of the Dan Hill song, Sometimes When We Touch, writers still trapped within our truth. If this is you, why not start writing your thoughts in a journal? It will help you get your truth on paper and could just be the start of your own book. And don't forget to join us here every week for the next edition of The Editor's Desk.